Mashima, I think I see what you're doing here. Alright, hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Eden Zero Chapter 82. And first thing to talk about is that, almost immediately, maybe like a day after I posted last week's chapter review, someone posted spoilers for this chapter on Twitter, and usually when it comes to Twitter spoilers, I usually take them with a grain of salt. Pretty much depending on who's posting them, but now that I've read the chapter, oh boy, I'm so glad that these spoilers were true, because Drakken Joe in this chapter is not only met my expectations, but also flew right past them. And truly, if there was ever a word to describe Drakken Joe after this chapter, it would be demon. Like, honestly, it's hard. I know that technically Shiki is like the successor of the Demon King, but honestly, in many respects, Drakken Joe is the best representation of a true blue fucking Demon King. Like, holy shit, the man is just insane. Like, it actually kind of, like, watching this chapter kind of, reading this chapter really kind of blew my mind in so many ways. Like, and made me so fucking scared. It made me so fearful and scared of Drakken Joe in just this one chapter alone. Like, everything he did and was, he basically, Drakken Joe did and was everything I wanted him to be, and it goes beyond him like effortlessly beating Shiki or what he did to Weiss, which we'll get into. But no, Drakken Joe, like, he crushed within this one chapter. Drakken Joe not only beat them, he crushed them. He crushed their hopes of escape and reason for being on Belial Gore. Drakken Joe's the kind of villain I've wanted to see from Mashima for a long time, and I'm not just going by fairy tale metrics from here. I'm adding Rave Master in there too, because, like, don't get me wrong, Rave Master had some good villains, but Drakken Joe right now, he feels like the perfect combination of all the best bits of Mashima's villains. Cold, calculating, methodical, brutal. Like, again, I need to reiterate, the man knows, like, Drakken Joe knows how to be a fucking brutal motherfucker. And he just, like, he did not take prisoners. He just beat them down relentlessly in this chapter without even like breaking a sweat, really, and I love it. And the thing is, like I said, he broke our heroes down on every single physical and emotional level there is. And if he beat down Shiki that easily, you gotta imagine the other 6 demon generals are equally as strong. And I like how, for as epically vicious as Drakken Joe was, this also sets up an interesting bit of a standard in the sense of what we should expect from the other generals strength-wise going forward. And, like, if Drakken Joe is honestly this powerful, we can only kind of imagine if Drakken Joe is this, like, ruthless and is both this powerful and this ruthless. You can only fucking imagine of how powerful the other demon generals are. Like, we have to remember, Drakken Joe isn't the only one out there with this kind of same, like, demon general rank. There are like 7, including him. There are 7 of these motherfuckers. So, like, there's 6 other people like him out there, and oh boy, yeah, I think, honestly, if anything, I think what this chapter really reinforced is that if the Eden Zero crew really wants to continue their journeys going forward, they need to get stronger, a lot stronger. Which I can only assume is what Mashima is doing with this chapter, is he's setting Drakken Joe up as such a fucking threat that Shiki and the others, they need to grow, they need to get stronger, and I think that's what he's doing here. Now, let's talk about the now. Now, let's talk about what happened to Weiss in this chapter. Which, first off, despite the medicine being destroyed, I still do not believe he's going to die. Now, how he's and I think part of how he's going to survive is the fact that we see Rebecca just kind of begging and pleading, like Drakken Joe, not to hurt them. So I think he's going to kind of relent in some way with that. Um, now how he's going to survive without the medicine is a different story. Like what specifically is going to heal him, I don't know. But yeah, unlike Valkyrie, I do think there is an out for him aside from. I do think that there is still an out in order for like Weiss to survive this. But aside from that, we pretty much see Drakken Joe ordering Fee. We see how Fee, ordered by Drakken Joe, viciously chops off Weiss's arm. And again, I think I know what Mashima's doing here with the whole. I think this finally reveals of what Mashima's doing with the whole time thing. If you'll remember, when we were first introduced to Zhao Mei, I believe her name was, Mashima used her as a means to pretty much say, don't overthink the time aspect of the series, but at the same time, when he did that, he didn't outright say if that time still wasn't going to play a part either. And in this case, with Weiss losing his arm, that means he's going to have a mechanical limb replacement at some point, just like his older self. So to that effect, Mashima's basically effectively going for an everything's relative kind of narrative. Even if the events play out differently, it's basically all going to arrive at the exact same conclusion. And to that end, if you remember, like going back to the basically that chapter where it ended with the like wreck of the Eden Zero and whatnot, and them holding up that person holding up the B cube. I think that probably still is going to happen, but it might happen slightly differently. I don't know, but yeah, it's like this. Yeah, it's definitely a very revealing chapter in that sense, where it gives us like a full blown look at what kind of narrative Mashima is going for here, and you know what? I'm all for it. Now, if I had one major complaint about the chapter is that I'm a little iffy that the fight between Homer and Self didn't go on longer, but it's still but at the same time I can't deny that it still worked with reveal that she was basically like defeated after being trapped in Sylph's wind, because it just kind of reinforces just how strong like the basically amount of power that Drakken Joe has amassed in his organization. And I'm sure like Sylph's defeat will come later, but yeah, it's just one of those things where I wanted to see a little bit more of that fight, I guess. And honestly, the trade-off is that the way this chapter was set up makes me think this could be one of the longer arcs of Eden Zero so far, especially if he plans to put our heroes to work, so to speak. And yeah, and even more so with the reveal of how Kurenai and Drakken Joe were connected, I'm actually kind of afraid for where Mashin was going with this, and I mean afraid in the good way, because yeah, he's if we basically seen what kind of place Belial Gore is at this point, it's basically a pretty much scummy like criminal underworld kind of city. So yeah, in terms of like Kurenai and whatnot, I'm worried for her, and I'm a little worried for her, but I'm sure she can still take care of herself. And Pino and Happy, like sending them off to a junk dealer. Oh my god, they yeah. I hope they can. I wouldn't actually mind in that particular case if there was just like if it was them kind of like escaping by themselves. Like I would like a chapter dedicated to seeing them escaping that predicament on their own rather than being rescued. Honestly, I think that would be a good way in order for Mashima to like finally, in order to subvert the trope that's been going on for a while in this series, which is these useless these useless people, these useless kind of like sidekicks. And I think we all know that Pino and Happy aren't useless. So I would like to see them actually kind of do something on their own, like escape on their own almost. Now, one major detail that was revealed is that Drakken Joe knows a lot more about Shiki's ether gear than even Shiki himself knows, and that it's called Satan's gravity, establishing officially that Noah has been feeding information to Drakken Joe. But even more than that, with this ether gear, Shiki can unlock supposedly the cat's power. So that to me reveals one of two things. Either Drakken Joe is referring to the power locked away within the ship, or simply he's talking about Happy. And the latter would make more sense, I guess, in terms of why he wanted both Shiki and Rebecca taken alive. And right now, it feels like this reveal is also building into why Rebecca is so important to Drakken Joe. And like, I can only hope the next couple of chapters are going to be are gonna explain a lot of this, because right now it does feel like there are certain, like with the whole cat's power thing, it does feel like there is some kind of connective tissue now between Shiki and Rebecca. But what that is, I don't know. And I can only, like, honestly right now I really just want at least a chapter or 2 chapters worth of an exposition dump, so we can finally get the reveal of what it is about Rebecca that's so important to Drakken Joe. So, yeah, guys, aside from that's all I got for this review. Honestly, probably one of my most favorite chapters of Eden Zero up to this point, of 2020 at the least. But yeah, guys, that's all I got. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.